Hey everyone, and welcome! Want to draw adorable chibi poses but not sure where to start? You're in the right place. In this video, I'll show you how to draw these cute chibis from scratch, and we'll do it in just 6 simple steps. We'll go from a quick sketch all the way to a finished colored illustration. So, grab your tools and let's get started with step 1. Proportion power. We'll start with a classic proportion, the 2.5 heads to body ratio. In figure drawing, the head is a super common way to measure a character's height. For chibis, it's how you get that cute, disproportionate look. A 2.5 heads to body ratio simply means the head fits into the character's total height, from the top of its head to its heels, exactly 2.5 times. In this example, we can see that 1 head length below the chin is where you'll find the knees, and 1.5 heads below the chin is the bottom of the heels. You'll also find the upper hip bones about half a head below the chin, and the crotch is about 3/4 of a head below the chin. You can always adjust these proportions to fit your own style. Maybe you want a slimmer body or shorter legs. But defining those proportions beforehand will not only help you draw consistently, but will also give you a ton of useful reference points, no matter what angle or pose you're drawing. Once we've finished our 2.5 head chibis, I'll show you how to draw the exact same characters and poses, but with a 2 heads to body ratio. I'll add more detail to the taller chibis, then we'll simplify those same details for the smaller 2-head versions. The second step is finding your story. Now that we know our proportions, let's do a small, quick sketch first to figure out our poses. Think about the posture, arm positions, and overall body language. What story do you want your character to tell? A lot of the time, I like to start with these little sketches first. It's like a low-pressure way to brainstorm. You can quickly test out a bunch of poses here, which means you won't have to erase and redraw a big full-size piece later on. Pay close attention to the angle of the shoulders and hips. I'll explain more about this once we begin the full-size sketch. I'll turn this first one into a female chibi, and the second one into a male chibi. Now, I need to figure out the story and the dynamic between them. I'm thinking maybe the girl is making lovey-dovey eyes at the guy, and he's trying to act all cool and stoic. Or we can change the dynamic. I'll make the girl casually reach out her hand for the guy to hold, and the guy is surprised. Maybe feels a bit shy and hesitant. So, I'm happy with this idea and have a much clearer picture of what I want. Let's start the final drawing. Which brings us to step 3, setting the scene. First, I'll define the size and position of our characters on the canvas. This way, I know they'll be exactly where I want them, and won't end up too small or too big. Next, I'll divide the character's height into 2.5 head units. I have my scale to the side, so I'm just transferring those marks over. But if you're drawing from scratch, you can divide the total height into 5 roughly equal units. Don't worry about being perfect or using a ruler. This is a great chance to practice gauging proportions by sight. A quick tip for traditional artists: don't forget to account for the space for your second character. It's easy to focus on one and run out of room, so plan for both. This will save you a lot of headaches later. Now, I'll draw the basic framework for both characters. If you're drawing on paper, feel free to do an even rougher sketch first to get the positioning just right. Another thing I always do is decide on the eye level. I do this even if I don't plan on drawing a background. For a simple drawing like this, I'll just mentally note where the eye level is. I might even quickly sketch a few perspective lines on the ground to get a feeling for the space. But for this demonstration, I'll elaborate a little bit further. In perspective drawing, the eye level, also called the horizon line, is a horizontal line that represents the viewer's eye height, establishing the viewpoint for the entire drawing. The vanishing point is a point on the horizon line, to which parallel lines appear to converge as they recede into the distance. Let's place a cuboid on the ground plane. Notice how the lines that go back into the distance, the receding lines, angle down when they are above your eye level and angle up when they are below your eye level. A line that is exactly on your eye level remains perfectly straight. Now for the cylinder. When we look at the lines that make up this cylinder, the top edge is above eye level, so it curves upward. The bottom edge is below eye level, so it curves downward. If we add cross-section lines, the line that sits perfectly on the eye level would be a straight, horizontal line. All the lines above that will curve upward, gradually getting more curved as they go up, while all the lines below it will curve downward, gradually getting more curved as they go down. This concept applies to every form, including the human body. You can simplify each body part into these basic geometric or organic shapes. Try to understand each shape as a 3D form existing in this space. Of course, the curvature of these cross-section lines will change, depending on the angle of the form. This is exactly why it's so important to practice drawing simple geometric and organic shapes from different perspectives. For example, if the upper body were bent forward, the cross-section line around the waist wouldn't curve upward anymore, but would now curve downward. Keeping these principles in mind will give you a solid foundation for your drawing and make adding details much easier. Now that we have our sketch and a clear idea of the poses, let's start the final drawing. Step 4. The foundation of your art. In this step, we'll use simple forms to build our chibis. We'll focus on the overall pose, posture, and body shape, making sure we get these fundamentals just right before adding any details. One thing to watch out for is making sure the head connects to the throat and shoulders correctly. It's a really easy mistake to make, so just be mindful of that connection as you draw. I'll tilt the shoulders like this and the hips like this. When drawing poses, it's crucial to pay attention to the tilt of the shoulders and hips. Often you'll see them tilting in opposite directions, a concept called Contrapposto. This happens because of weight distribution. When a character puts their weight on one leg, that hip rises while the other drops, and the shoulders tilt the opposite way to balance the body. It's a great way to make a pose feel natural and full of life. However, in our drawing, the shoulders and hips are tilting in the same direction. This is because the body's weight is on the left side, and the right side is being pulled down and back as the character's right leg and upper body angle slightly backward. The upward tilt of the left shoulder also adds to this, as the left arm is reaching forward. This kind of pose can create a specific look. In this case, I think it adds to that cute, girly feel I'm going for. Ultimately, it all depends on the story you want to tell and the character's body language. I should also point out that the right knee is a little lower than the left because of the tilt of the hips. Because the right hip and knee are lower, the right leg has to either be bent or stretched out in some way to accommodate its length. And don't forget to keep the shoulder tilt in mind when you draw the arms as well. I'm going to place the male Chibi slightly closer to the viewer, so we'll need to make him a little bigger. Just like before, I'll set up a scale to keep the proportions consistent. Once you're happy with your sketch, you can start adding the details. Step 5. Adding the fun stuff. Another thing to watch out for is making sure the sideburns, or the hair framing the face, are the correct length on both sides. Just keep the tilt and perspective of the head in mind to get it right. When drawing the pigtails, I pay attention to how they connect to the head. This helps make sure everything makes sense, even if parts of it aren't visible. While drawing the hemline of this cardigan, I'm envisioning its overall flow from front to back, ensuring it's cohesive and has a nice flow. I like the hem of the jacket to be higher in the back and lower in the front. Therefore, the front hemline should curve downwards, not upwards. Alright, the sketch is done. I traced the sketch with a regular G pen at a very small brush size, but you can handle this any way you like. Clean up your line art before we get to the final step: color, light, and shadow. This next step is optional, and I won't be going into the digital coloring process in detail. I'll save that for a separate tutorial. First, I laid down the flats. For the inside of the iris, I didn't use any black contours. And I used a red color to ink in the reddened cheek lines on the boy's face. Next, I'm adding simple anime-style shading. I've used a light blue color to map out the contours of the shadows, and red for the highlights. I will then convert these contours into the final shade colors and fill them in. Of course, you could combine steps 1 through 5 and start drawing right away, figuring out the proportions and pose as you go. You can use these steps as a guideline of all the things to keep in mind while drawing your characters. But if you plan to draw the same character again and again, especially in more dynamic and complicated poses, spending a little time sketching out a basic front view will save you time in the long run. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a quick, rough sketch to figure out the torso, leg, and arm lengths and the character's overall body shape. I put some shading on the ground and added Gaussian blur to it. Using an airbrush, I also added some red color to the cheeks. The 2.5 head Chibis are done. Now I'm going to repeat the same steps with the 2 head to body ratio Chibis. I'll simplify the design a bit and leave out some of the details. So there you have it. We've gone from a simple idea to a finished illustration, all by following a few simple steps. We started with proportions, moved to pose brainstorming, constructed our characters with simple forms, and finished with details and color. I hope these steps give you a great foundation for all your future chibi drawings. And that's a wrap on this tutorial. If you enjoyed learning how to draw chibis, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It's free and helps me out so much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.